Hi, my name's Rob Scott from UC Today, bringing you the latest news and conversation from the unified communications and collaboration space. So today, I'm joined by James Cadman, who's the VP of Customer Success at Luware. And we're going to be discussing their latest Attendant console from Microsoft Teams. Welcome, James.
Hi, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. Yeah, thanks for joining me. Hey, James, just before we get started, how about we just do a quick intro? Tell us, a little bit about what you do at Luware and what the company does, please.
Yeah, sure. So, as you mentioned, I'm the VP of Customer Success here at Luware, which in essence means I'm responsible for all of the customer-facing departments of the company, taking care of the installation, design, support, etc. of our products. And in terms of Luware, what we do is we develop customer service platforms with a really key focus on Microsoft UC. So to really enable our customers to provide that exceptional service to their customers with Microsoft as the core UC stack.
Fantastic, thanks for that. So today, James, you said we'd talk about your new Attendant console specifically designed for Microsoft Teams. So just to kick things off, just want to get up to speed with Attendant consoles. Talk us through the role of receptionists nowadays and front desk attendants and the kind of important role they play.
Yeah, sure. So it's interesting because I think they're typically a very small part of the organisation, but really one of the most important. They typically take a lot of customer interactions. They might only spend a very small amount of time with them, but it's a massive volume, and they really act as that front desk. So they've got a huge impact on the first impression that somebody external has within of the company, and at the same time they're fulfilling two really opposite roles, right? So they're simultaneously the concierge, providing that exceptional kind of experience, but also acting as a firewall because, of course, if it's the main inbound number for an organisation, that's where people are going to target for things like social engineering and trying to get through to senior managers and things like that. So they have to kind of balance those two things, really keeping those kind of marketing calls, etc., away from staff. But also the thing that's often forgotten is it's the other way around as well. So many internal people at the company would rely on these receptionists, if you like, for all sorts of exterior or auxiliary functions. So it's quite often you'd ring the reception desk to say, hey, can you put me through to the local taxi firm? I've got a visitor coming and they need to be picked up, or the caterers that we use for our meetings and things like that. So they're really kind of this everything to everyone, and they play a really important role within the organisation. And so they've got to be super focused on being service oriented, but also serving the internal stakeholders and sort of being that firewall at the same time. And it's quite often that we find that when you're doing a transformation of telephony, because there's so few people in this kind of world, they quite often get forgotten about. But they're really urgent to think about up front and make sure you've got a strategy in there, particularly when you talk about a strategy of moving towards Teams, for example.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for that intro. And certainly the Attendant consoles I've installed over the years, they do absolutely play a critical function in businesses. Yeah. As it's rightly said, for the users, the teams, and the customers, all trying to communicate with the business. So, tell us about your new product. Give us a little bit of background. How did this come about? Why was there a need for it? And tell us, what it can do.
Sure. So obviously there's a really big gap in the market in terms of Microsoft doesn't give you any out-of-the-box functionality to be able to serve this function. And if we kind of peel it back to the essence of what these people need, they need to find people in the organisation. And quite often the way I put it is they need to put their Sherlock Holmes hat on and become a detective. You might have a call that says, I need to speak to someone in this department in that country. So giving them a really good, robust set of tools to find the right people, that's not just knowing their name, is first and foremost. And delivering that on a really exceptional user interface, so you can minimise the overheads of training and sort of get engagement up front. They're typically quite a change-resistant part of the organisation as well, because they are so vital. So having a really clean and easy-to-understand interface is super important. So what we've built is we've built this attendant console that is it sits on top of our Nimbus suite. So for calls delivered via Luware Nimbus, and that could be our advanced routing or enterprise routing products, then you can have this interface that's native inside the Teams client to make really quick and easy transfers. And that's really the primary goal, is to how few clicks can we do a transfer in, so we can really make it efficient, and then provide all of those auxiliary tools for things like custom address books and calendar integrations to see availability and presence, and really bringing that together into a single space. And when you pair that off with the fact that the calls are delivered via our Nimbus suite, you also get all the benefits of being cloud native, running in the Microsoft sort of Azure stack. So cognitive services for things like amazing text to speech, all the scalability and availability that comes with that, and also integrations into basically anything that Power Automate can give you. So if you've got an address book source for external contacts, for example, and it maybe lives in a SharePoint list, or even getting really wild like a Google Drive spreadsheet or something like that, we can use the power of Power Automate to bring that in as a custom address book and make it searchable in the same way as anyone else in the organization. So it really gives an organization the ability to leverage that full investment into the Microsoft strategy and not leave anyone behind.
I was going to say, it sounds like it truly is baked into that Microsoft ecosystem of products. So yeah, fantastic. Absolutely. Now, in terms of its, I like to ask top features. What are your top features or top favourite features of your new Attendant console?
One of my biggest ones is actually a real-time view. So it's one thing to have some Attendant console software that lights up when you're in a call. Obviously, that's great, but actually giving the agents or the receptionists a view on who is waiting, and being able to give them the option to prioritize certain things if necessary. And because of, again, those integrations into Power Automate, we can actually start figuring out who those people are before they've reached an agent and present that information to the receptionist as well. So yeah, the fact that you get the real-time view is amazing. And it's also unique to you. So you might be opted into 3 of the 5, routing queues at any given time. And the real-time view you get is only of those queues that you're serving at that time. So, it's really in the moment and useful, and it kind of takes that cognitive load from the agent. The other thing is that searching for people seems trivial, right? Hey, you can search for people in the Teams client. Why do I need some fancy tool to do that? And as I said earlier, it's really when you get those questions where you've only got a couple of data points to go on. So I spoke to someone in marketing. I can't remember their name. I think it started with an M, but I remember she was in Switzerland. Is there any chance you could put me through? And using our tools, you can then build up these search criteria. So you could start with the country and then add the department and really narrow that down. And then you can see right in front of you all the people that meet those criteria. Now, obviously, you probably want to have a quick discussion with the transfer target, in that case, the person you're going to transfer to. And that's that firewall function that I told you about earlier on. So you can really easily park the call, stick it there. The caller's going to hear some hold music, and you can go and have that discussion and say, hey, I got this person over on the line. I think it's for you. They weren't really sure, does it make sense? And should we make the transfer? And then you can then come back and make that happen. So the search is really, really useful by adding those dynamic filters. And then finally, I think self-service is a big one as well. So there's very little reliance upon having to raise IT service requests for day-to-day changes. We really empower the people within the team to be able to do that.
That was going to be my next question, actually, around self-service, because you normally find receptionists are making administrative changes to the phone system more often than not. So how do you empower the receptionists to kind of take control of things like that then within the Microsoft Teams platform?
Yeah, so because we're delivering the calls via the Nimbus suite, you get all of the benefits of Nimbus as well. So what that means is that firstly, the interface is really easy to use. We're really aiming for that kind of, call it iPhone generation, right? So you should be able to look at the interface and really understand, how do I change the opening hours, for example? If we've got a team meeting tomorrow morning, It should be fairly straightforward to understand how to do that. But you can also go a level deeper and change things like announcements, instantly enable new announcements. So perhaps you've got a fire drill or something like that. You could very easily get your mobile out and make that change without raising a service desk request or ringing the help desk and things like that. So really, it kind of makes it real, being able to react to the changing things of the day. And then one of those features I told you about earlier on, which is those custom address books. Because we're using Power Automate to bring that address book in, it really gives you the power to have that stored anywhere. And for example, you could have a spreadsheet stored in OneDrive, make that accessible to all of the receptionists, and then they can maintain the address book in a format they understand. Right? Everybody knows Excel, right? They say it's the world's most used programming language for a reason, because everyone can get their head around it. And if you can store those external contacts in there and have them automatically synced in, yeah, it reduces the friction and makes it more real and usable for the individuals. And then we get to all sorts of bits and bobs, like it will synchronize personal Outlook contacts as well. So when you're doing a search, it really is a unified search across all of those sources, including your personal ones. And ultimately, this is all focused on increasing the speed, right? So when you need to react to something to make sure that the level of service is remaining exceptional, then it gives you the ability to do that without relying on others to kind of do it.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, it's got to be frictionless. It's got to be easy to use, and that ultimately is going to help organisations provide a fantastic customer experience as well, isn't it? So,
yeah.
Great. Okay, for anyone watching that wants to find out more about your Attendant console, what's the best way to get in touch?
Sure. So it's luware.com is the first port of call. You'll find that our Attendant console is pretty visible on there on the banners, but if you just go to solutions, you'll also find it there. You can have a look. You can fill a little form in and then get to see a more detailed walkthrough that I did recently, where I'm showing off kind of the top features and most of the things that we've discussed today. And you can also fill in a form there to get a custom quote and see all the feature list and everything as well. So yeah, luware.com really would be the place to go.
Fantastic, and we'll put the links in the description for you as well. James, thanks for taking me through your latest Attendant console. It's been great talking to you today.
Thanks, Rob. It's been great to be here, and thanks for having me.
And that's it from us. If you've enjoyed today's session, please subscribe to UC Today Do's and give this video a quick share on social, as it's always appreciated. And if you're a UC fan and want to be part of the conversation, you can join us on social media using the hashtag UC News on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, and our social links are equally in the description. So I'm Rob Scott from UC Today. Thanks for watching.